myself and TC, we've been very vocal about the situation on the bases. And we believe, especially here in the last several years, while they were being on base was never always the most glamorous thing. It's significantly deteriorated to us, and we've highlighted a couple cases. Obviously, the big one is Vanessa Guillen down at Fort Hood, but you highlighted a case that we didn't know about. And can you talk about Private Holiday a little bit?
Yeah, Private Richard Halliday in Fort Bliss. I spoke with his mom, Patricia, a couple times in the beginning when he first went missing. And she had just started getting vocal. She had just started her page. Um, and the frustration at that time was trying to get the military, the Army, to declare him missing. Because I think at that point they were just calling him AWOL. And without that
Well,
missing status, they were
let's.
they were trying to recruit. Go ahead.
I want to touch on something because I've been having this conversation over the last few days with some people as I've talked about this story. Um, he went missing in July, right, of 2020.
June 20, June
Excuse me,
23rd.
June 23rd of 2020, and
Mhm.
they they were insistent that he was AWOL when his mom started to ask questions, but it took them 36 days. 36 days to communicate to his family that he was missing. And what people don't understand is there's no way in hell a soldier, an airman, a seaman, a Marine, anybody goes missing for 36 days. CONUS, continental United States, non-combat, and the military, the superiors and whatnot, MPs, SPs, whatever it is, do not immediately contact the family, not to tell them that the person's missing, but to immediately start an investigation into this service member being AWOL. The same freaking day, almost without fail. They might give it a couple of days to see if this person's hiding out somewhere or drunk somewhere. Not that a service member would ever get
Seven
drunk and
days is
forget to show
actually
up
the
for an assignment.
unless if they've changed it. 7 days was the where you went from unauthorized absence to a more serious level where they were really calling. But they still, when I had Marines who went unauthorized absence, we would call their families. We would call their next kin, and be like, "Hey, if
Almost
you talk with
immediately.
them, let us know."
Yeah. Or tell them to get their butts back here or to call us, let us know what's going on. This family went, and by the way, folks, this is just the surface of the story. Melissa will be able to tell us a little bit more. 36 days this family went, had no idea. They weren't hearing from Private Halliday. They weren't seeing anything. And this is the days of social media. Soldiers had social media in 2020. They weren't getting any communication from his first name is Richard, correct?
Yes, Richard.
Yeah. No communications from Richard at all. It took the military 36 days to give any kind of explanation to the mother, and that was he's just missing. No one's seen him. And so she started to ask questions and got the runaround. They basically accused him of being AWOL at that point. Now, she's fighting for answers from that 36-day window. So that pushes that into August at this point.
Yep.
Where did they find Richard, Melissa?
From what I've seen on Patricia, his mom's, her Facebook called Find Richard Halliday, I saw recent posts that they found his body dismembered with a bullet hole in his head. And it was partial remains, and it was definite foul play. And
But in Mexico, correct?
Yeah, I don't remember the name. It started with a C. I can't pronounce it. But it was pretty close to the Fort Bliss area. And I remember at that time when I spoke with her, they were fighting to get a missing status on him. They were trying to get the group that helped find Vanessa Guillen and a couple other service members in Fort Hood. They were trying to get that group to help them, but in order for them to help, he needed a missing status. And the Army just would not do it. And they had to fight for that. And then they finally did it, I think 4-something months later, 6 months later, months. Your loved one is missing for months. And they finally were able to get groups and stuff helping. And in my post about Richard, there was a couple service members, or maybe one or two, I don't remember, but somebody commented and said that the Army did send out search parties and stuff like that. But I'm not sure the extent. I'm not sure what area they covered. I'm not sure for how many days, I just know that they were looking, but I don't know the details of that.
Part of the issue, though, is the
But from what
military is
his
not
mom
communicating.
said-
The military is not communicating with his mother.
Yeah.
They're not giving her any information. But we do know one thing for sure, and that was he was named not as a suspect, but as a witness in a CID, which is Criminal Investigation Division. It's kind of the detectives of the military police and the Army. He was named as a witness in an investigation into his command about child pornography, and his name was leaked.
CID, from what his mom has said in her posts and her page, yes, he was named as a witness, and somehow his name got leaked by CID, and then next thing you know, he's missing. And from what she said in her post, his body was found in October of 2020. And she didn't know anything until recently, and it's now 2023. So for the last 3 years, she had no idea, nothing. Nobody was talking to her about anything.
So let me see if I get this. Let me see if I get this timeline straight, Melissa. You're telling me that they found him in October of 2020 and did not tell her?
Didn't tell anyone.
Wow.
I did
And
not
she
even
tried
understand
to
that.
get-
So she just found out that her son that she's been searching for since, well, let's just say August, by the time they informed this poor woman, since August of 2020, she has been searching for this poor kid. And let's just be honest. I mean, Juan had his picture up there. He's a kid.
He's a kid.
Searching for this poor kid, enlisted. For whatever reason, he enlisted, goes missing after the CIA. Apparently, we don't know this beyond any reasonable doubt, but apparently CID leaked his name as a witness in a criminal investigation into child pornography in his command staff. He then disappears, and they find his body in Mexico, dismembered with a bullet wound to his head. And no one tells his mother or anybody in his family that he's dead until just recently. Folks, this is why. Go ahead.
Her next hurdle is getting her son's body. They don't want to turn over his body.
So what
Denied a
I'm going
military
to
funeral.
what I'm going to
Proper military funeral.
So what I'm going to say to this is, I have some friends that are, I would say they're watching us live right now, but we're having some feed issues, and it's live. I would imagine it's working well on ram.tv and Facebook and everything else. But I have some friends that I will be sending them the links to this because they were going to be watching live. They asked to be tagged. But I will be making sure that as soon as this goes up, and I know that Skipper will stay up late tonight because we're going to want this up. I'm the enlisted guy. I get to tell the commission guy what to do. So Skipper will make sure that this goes up right away tonight. I like to refer to them as pretty heavy hitters when it comes to actual investigative journalism, not the kind of stuff you see on 60 Minutes in 2020, but these are people who have put their lives and their reputation at risk to investigate some pretty big stories. And one of them immediately, when I told him we were going to be talking about this, immediately reached out to me. Like the post wasn't even up, or the tweet wasn't even up on Twitter for very long when Ken said, "I will be watching this." When he says he's going to watch something, and when some of these others say they're going to watch something, what that means is dig. They're going to dig. And it's high time. People have to recognize this. And I know I will get no pushback from any of the military veterans in the group, from anybody that's part of the show, anybody that watches, anybody that's been on the show. It's high time that the military, like every other governmental entity, starts to understand that you don't get away with these things because there's nobody there who has the power to hold you accountable. We the people have the power to hold you accountable. We the people are your bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, we may not have the money, we may not have all the access that it would take for somebody who has the credentials to be able to come in and do something, but we can bring pressure to bear. I want to know who was investigated. I want to know what the investigation entailed. I want to know how the leak happened. I want to know who's the leak. Did that leak get promoted? Is that leak part of the problem? I mean, the leak is, and I'm all for certain types of leaks. You know, there are some things that should not be hidden, but the name of a witness in a criminal investigation should be protected, especially when that is a cherry private, a buck private, sees something, says something, apparently is named as a witness, and his name gets out and he ends up dead. I'm supposed to believe that this is all coincidental. That's all just weird.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we know? Two murders at Fort Hood in recent years,
Mm-hmm.
of people who had filed sexual harassment, sexual assault charges or made claims, structured, verifiable, objective reality style claims of sexual harassment and abuse at the hands of superiors. Dead.
Do you know how many females I know that are out of the military and that are still in that have filed sexual assault or military sexual trauma type complaints and have gotten reprimanded or kicked out? Dozens. That's just me. I know dozens. There's more than that, but it's very common. And like the one girl, she was in Fort Riley. Gosh, I can't remember her name.
Are you speaking about the one I'm pulling up one here, Denisha Smith?
No, this one was in 2001, I believe. Oh my gosh,
Okay.
what is her name? Oh, I can't remember. I posted about her. Camilla? I'm not good with names. I'm good with faces. Like I'll remember your face until I'm old and gray, but your name, I'm horrible with names. But this one girl, she went on the news, and it's Fort Riley, and she filed a sexual assault complaint against her superior, and then within a year she was kicked out. I think it was dishonorable, and then 6 months after she got out, she was found dead in her house.
Well, here's the one I've been following
God,
as
what is
well.
her name?
This happened out of Durham, North Carolina. Denisha Smith was assaulted by 4 military police officers. Uh,
Oh yeah, her too.
Prior to the investigation, her death was ruled a homicide, and they said that she had hung herself on her knees in her closet. I don't know how you hang yourself on your knees, but that's what they claim that she did. She had her bags packed up. She was ready to go home. Had texted her family. Couldn't wait to see how, couldn't wait to see them in just a short amount of time. But yeah, then she ends up dead. And the other thing about it is the camera that was to her room was shut off by the military police before they went in there.
Yeah, somebody didn't want her to leave.
Mm-hmm.
She was ready to go. Somebody didn't want her to leave because maybe they thought that she would tell someone while she's away from the installation. That's what it sounds like to me. Somebody definitely knew she was leaving, and I'm not sure if the room looked like, there was a struggle, but maybe it was somebody she knew. You open the door for somebody you know.
I talked a little bit about this on the live
I
stream
don't.
that I did last week. I ran into instances like this. I did a military investigation on a sexual crime on an individual, a Marine, and while I couldn't prove that he had done what it was claimed, there was stuff that he had done wrong. So I said, look, he probably did this, but I don't have any proof, but I do have proof at these violations. Finished off my investigation, fine, it's all done. They're figuring out what they're going to do. Then they put this individual in the vicinity, like purposefully in the vicinity of someone who was, I'm gonna, they were vulnerable. And lo and behold, next thing you know, he's got a sexual assault case against him. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, one, the command already knew he had problems. Why are they putting him around people who are vulnerable? And two, then it was a matter of they still were treating it like, well, this is just probably someone who, uh, you know, this didn't really happen. And I'm like, oh, that absolutely happened. Now totally believe it. I thought he was guilty of before. Now I know he's guilty.
Yeah.
And
Now we know.
and
Yeah.
they weren't allowed to introduce any of that at his court martial, so he eventually was acquitted of sexual assault at his court martial. Thankfully, the general kicked him out, but that individual still was able to retire with full pay and benefits. And the thing about it is,
That full pay and benefits. I hear so many leaders getting convicted of all kinds of things and they still get that full pay and
yep.
benefits.
And that's what, if you're a
What
viewer
is it? What
watching,
is in the
if you're a viewer watching and you don't know much about the military, know this. A commander can set aside your conviction, your felony conviction at court martial. They can completely set it aside and nothing happens to you.
in the military?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my God. So
Because that is not a civilian jurisdiction.
Correct.
So it doesn't even
how
follow
do
you
they
into the civilian world.
how do they escape civilian charges?
I mean,
Military has
how do you-
jurisdiction. Military has jurisdiction over anything that happens on the post, and it's it's hard to explain just the loopholes and the hurdles
they have
and everything
jurisdiction when
else
they
that
want
a
jurisdiction.
civilian jurisdiction has to go to. Yeah,
They want
they
jurisdiction when
they
I've seen
they
it.
still have to.
I've seen it where the military doesn't want to touch something, so they're like, "Oh, well, we're just going to give this to the local
Mhm.
sheriff." I've seen this at
Mhm.
Marine Corps or McCagsey 29 Palms. Seen that myself. So they have jurisdiction until they don't.
When the military wants to give it over.
Yeah.
When the military wants to give it over, but if the military claims jurisdiction, a civilian law enforcement agency can't even step foot onto
Yep.
that post.
So they're their own sovereignty.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
kind of
Yeah,
sounds
basically.
like that. their own courts, their own, like, you know how tribal courts, they're their own sovereignty. Um,
Exactly.
wow, that's scary. That's really
And
scary considering everything I know. That's scary.
which is fine when Congress gives the special trust and confidence to that. That's fine when they're actually upholding the standards, but I think there's so many instances now. It's clear the military leadership is failing and they are not upholding their end of the deal. They are not deserving of their special trust and confidence.
No, absolutely not, especially considering anything that has to do with bodily harm. I don't think that commanders should be responsible or have any say in any crime that involves bodily harm. And that could be assault, domestic violence, it could be rape, anything that involves bodily harm, like
Mm.
DUIs, I mean, whatever. But, you know, just petty crimes, misdemeanors, but specifically bodily harm, kidnapping, you know, wrongful bodily harm. I don't think commanders should have. I think there needs to be a third party entity or something, somebody coming in
At
to
least a
oversee
second
that to
look.
make sure that there is justice for the victims.
Yeah, I'd say at
Like,
least a second
definitely a
look or
third party
oversight.
is needed. Oh yeah, especially that, because there's so many cases popping up now, and it's not new.
Hmm.
This is definitely
No.
not new. Ask, you know, veterans for the last 20, 30 years. They will tell you this is not new, but it's now just coming to light.
Hmm.
You know, it's just starting to get exposed, you know,
Well,
through
part of that's because a lot of the people who are getting off of active duty, especially now, are fed up. They're tired. A lot of them have been at war for decades. I mean, we fought the global war on terror for almost 20 years. Well, for over 20 years now, and nothing's changed. Things have gotten worse. I mean, I know a guy who went to Afghanistan, came back and said, "I'd rather go back to Afghanistan. I felt like I was living in a cleaner, more sterile environment than what I was living in when I got back to Fort Lewis." So it they're getting fed up, and I want to go back real quick to Private Halliday real quick. The people that I'm
okay.
know that are going to be paying attention to this, please take a very strong interest in this, especially the investigative types. Take a very strong interest in this, because this is not just one story.
Hmm.
This is numerous stories. And if this is the chunk of rock that we can pull out of the dam to to cause a flood of information to come out in this case and all these others, then by all means, let's make that happen, for the good of the veterans and the active duty and guard and reserve folks who have to go through this and deal with it, because this this soldier's family deserved to know a long time ago what happened to him, and they deserve to be able to say goodbye to him the way that a family would want to say goodbye. We went to great lengths after September 11th, 2001, to do everything we could in this country to reunite families with the remains of their loved ones after that horrible day. We are still doing everything we can to bring home the remains of people that were killed in Vietnam. This family deserves to be able to say goodbye to Michael. And I'm going to do what I can on my end
Mm.
to be able to make that happen. And and bring justice to these other cases. Melissa, if Juan, do you have anything to lighten the load for us tonight, so that we're not going out on such a
We're
somber note?
normally a much funnier
Melissa,
show.
while Juan's yeah, well, I'm funny. Mike just tells bad puns. Um, Melissa, where can everybody find you? What are your socials that you feel safe giving out?
Oh, all of it. I'm not, I don't keep secrets about who I am. I don't care who knows who I am. I am at Instagram and Facebook, under the name Military Housing Slumlords. And I'm also in TikTok. I'm in TikTok. under the same name, Military Housing Slumlords. And I try to keep, I'm mostly active on Instagram though. I feel safer in Instagram, Facebook, and I mean, I think I'm shadow banned on Facebook. Facebook does not like me, but so far, I'm doing pretty well in TikTok and Instagram, and I have one post in my TikTok that has 1.6 million, actually two. One has 1.6 million views and the other one has 1 million views. But you can find me.
You did a dance
in,
or what? Like
no,
you did a TikTok
didn't,
dance?
didn't do any dances. No,
Didn't do any dance. You know what?
no.
We're thankful that Skipper doesn't dance on his TikTok. So
I mean, you might get more views. You never know.
no,
Sometimes,
not
sometimes you got to do what you got to do. $20 is $20, you know.
Please don't.
I've said that too much in my life.
Oh.
You got to do it for the views.
Do it for the audience.
Well, Melissa, we appreciate your time, and so now you're going to get the joy of the light end that we once in a while we end on a really serious note, but after the topic tonight, I feel like it's a good thing for us to do is to watch either something very poignant or funny or poignantly funny.
Okay.
Juan's over shaking his head. I got nothing tonight. He doesn't. You have nothing for us, Juan? Juan's got nothing. Nothing. You want to recycle the Bud Light commercials from last week? Is that?
I'll just finish off telling jokes. How's that?
Oh God, no, Juan. Find something or cut him off. What? Oh, this is what happens when you give the producer and owner of the network too much power and a week off.
Should we do our plugs now?
Well, we might as well do our plug since Juan's got nothing for us to end on. So Melissa's plugged her socials. So Skipper, go ahead.
Well, you can always find us on Facebook in our Facebook group, Veteran Nation. I am on.
We're not important enough to get shadow banned.
Yeah. You can follow us, Veteran Nation, on YouTube. Also, we're on Instagram at Vet Nation Show, and on True Social, we're at Veteran Nation.
Skipper, have you managed to get your Twitter stuff going again?
I have not. In fact, I asked them for an explanation, and they said your account is gone and it'll never come back. Like, that's almost literally what they told me. And I'm just like, okay, but tell me why. Explain to me why. But that's okay. A fan of Veteran Nation account might spring up.
We have fans.
We will have a very bald-headed fan.
Gru?
Ooh, yeah, maybe that's Gru, fan of Veteran Nation.
Gru from Despicable Me has now become a fan. I wish I could do his voice because I would do it right now. Yeah.
What
Folks,
are your plugs?
I'm plugging my coffee. The brand new, stylish, shiny bags. Coffee that is blended, roasted, and ground, custom for my show, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, by a Marine Corps veteran who's also a great supporter of vets across the country and PTSD people. So if you're interested in the coffee or any of my other merchandise, for those of you that just like to pretend that you drink, I've got these really cool shot glasses.
Are those Colombian beans?
I don't know for sure. I know that they're organic and fair trade sourced. It's a full-bodied medium roast, and everybody said they take this over their store-bought dark roast, which I'm like, that's not hard to beat. I have a friend that no, but I have a friend who uses this, and he makes most of his coffee French press, and he said he will not use anything but this for his French press anymore. So it's a really good coffee for it. So thanks for asking that question unprompted. That's amazing.
Just think of all the children,
Juan
the
did
barefoot children in Colombia that you're keeping in a job. That's awesome.
hey, hey, anything,
Oh my
anything,
God.
anything for $20.
Oh.
Even if it's for a week.
But so yeah, if you're interested in coffee or merch, you can email me at mbrrpodcast@yahoo.com. You can find me on Twitter at Robe Regiment. I'm still working on getting the information on YouTube for actual merch. I know you can do merch on YouTube. I don't know. I'm not that smart. We'll figure it out. So yeah, you can do that. And tune in. I've got a very interesting guest on my Monday Night Musings coming up next week. His name is Mitch Berg, and he's a big voice for traditional values in upper reaches of the United States, and actually he's kind of gone around the entire country. And he gives me hope for people who aren't shilling for the system anymore. So when he pays attention to things, it's normally very interesting for everyone around. And it does look like Juan did find a video for us to go out on.
Damn, brother, bread good as fuck. You know what I've learned over my years? You know what's better than money? Advice. Get a better job, bitch. My fucking guy. Great service, okay? So here's the tip. I'm just kidding. Here you go. No, it's not a lot, but here's my entire bank account, okay? You blow my mac and cheese, I really appreciate it. You deserve that. Oh, this is on you? Okay, wow. Thank you, Potato. He takes care of me.
Potato. I like that.
With that, folks, we're going to say thank you to our guest, Melissa Godoy, the military housing slumlord. And thank you for joining us. And as always, thank you for being worth serving.